The city of Nova District floated silently above Earth's atmosphere. It was a place where humans and aliens tried to live together. Tall glass towers shined with soft blue and purple lights. Ships moved in the sky like slow stars. From far away, the city looked peaceful. But Daniel Carter did not feel peace. He stood outside a large apartment building, holding a small bag with his clothes inside. His money was almost finished. He had lost his job at the interstellar cargo docks 2 weeks ago. Every place he applied rejected him. Rent prices were too high for a human without stable work. He checked his phone again. The advertisement was still there. Room available. Very low rent, no questions asked. Must be open-minded. The price was so cheap that it did not make sense. In Nova District, nothing was cheap. Daniel had read the message 5 times before coming here. Something about it felt strange. But he had no choice. If he did not find a place tonight, he would be sleeping in a transport station. He took a deep breath and walked inside. The hallway lights were dim. The air felt cooler than outside. There was a soft humming sound, almost like electricity running through the walls. Daniel reached apartment 47B. He knocked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened slowly. A woman stood in front of him. She looked human, but not completely. Her skin was smooth and pale, almost glowing under the light. Her eyes were silver, not gray. Silver. They reflected light in a strange way. She smiled calmly. "Daniel Carter," she said softly. "You are right on time." Daniel froze. He never told them what time he would arrive. Before he could speak, another woman stepped into view behind her. This one had long, dark blue hair that moved slightly, even though there was no wind. Her eyes were deep violet. Her expression was serious, almost unreadable. "Please come in," the second woman said. Daniel hesitated. How did they know his full name? Maybe it was written in the rental application form. He tried to calm himself. Maybe he was just nervous. He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. The apartment looked normal at first. Clean white walls, modern furniture. A soft glowing light strip ran across the ceiling, but when Daniel looked closer, he noticed strange details. Symbols were carved into the wall near the kitchen. They glowed faintly blue. The air smelled different. Not bad, just unfamiliar. "My name is Lyra," the silver-eyed woman said. "And I am Sarah," said the one with blue hair. Daniel nodded slowly. "Nice to meet you," he replied. His voice sounded smaller than he expected. Lyra gestured toward a chair. "Please sit. You must be tired." Daniel placed his bag near the sofa and sat down. He felt like he had entered a different world. The room felt calm but also powerful. Like something unseen was watching. Sarah handed him a small tablet device. "This is the rental agreement," she said. Daniel looked at it. The price was real. The contract was simple, no hidden rules, no strange conditions. Just one line stood out. Respect privacy at all times. That was not unusual for roommates. He signed it. Lyra smiled again. "Welcome home, Daniel." The word home felt strange. Daniel tried to act normal. "So, how long have you two lived here?" Sarah and Lyra exchanged a very quick look. It lasted less than a second, but Daniel noticed it. "Not long," Lyra answered. "Are you students?" Daniel asked carefully. "In a way," Sarah replied. Her answer was calm, but it did not explain anything. A soft sound suddenly came from one of the closed rooms. It was like a low vibration, almost like energy moving. Daniel turned his head toward the noise. Lyra quickly stepped in front of the hallway. "Private equipment," she said smoothly. "Nothing to worry about." Daniel nodded slowly, but inside, his thoughts were racing. "Private equipment? What kind?" He stood up. "Can I see my room?" "Of course," Sarah said. She walked him down a short hallway. The air felt cooler there. Daniel noticed that the lights changed color slightly as they passed. Sarah opened a door. The room inside was simple. A bed, a desk, a small window showing the stars outside the station. Everything looked normal. Too normal. "Is something wrong?" Sarah asked quietly. Daniel looked at her. Up close, he noticed something even stranger. Her pupils were not round. They were slightly vertical, like a cat. He forced a small smile. No, it's perfect. She studied him for a moment, almost as if reading his thoughts. Then she nodded once and walked away. Daniel sat on the bed. His heart was beating fast. Something was different about them. He was sure now. They were not just unusual humans. A few minutes later, he left his room to get water from the kitchen. As he walked past the living area, he suddenly stopped. Lyra was standing near the window, but she was not touching the floor. She was floating, only a few inches above the ground, but clearly floating. Her eyes were glowing brighter than before. Daniel froze completely. Before he could make a sound, Lyra slowly lowered herself back down. She turned. Their eyes met. For a long second, neither of them spoke. Then Lyra smiled gently. "You were not supposed to see that," she said softly. Daniel felt cold. His voice barely worked. "What are you?" Syrah stepped into the room quietly. The air around them felt heavier now. Lyra's silver eyes shined brighter. "We are not your enemy, Daniel," she said calmly, "but we are not human." Silence filled the apartment. Outside the window, ships moved peacefully across the sky. But inside apartment 47B, Daniel understood something very important. He did not just rent a cheap room. He had just moved in with 2 alien women, and somewhere far above the city, a dark ship changed its direction toward Nova District. The arrival had only just begun. Oak. Daniel did not move. The air inside the apartment felt heavy. It was as if the walls were listening. Lyra stood calmly near the window. Syrah watched him carefully. Their eyes were no longer hiding the truth. They were not human. Daniel's heart was beating fast, but something inside him refused to panic. He had seen strange things in Nova District before. Aliens lived everywhere. But living with them was different. Living with 2 powerful alien women who could float was something else. Lyra spoke first. "You deserve honesty," she said softly. Syrah stepped closer to Daniel. Her voice was steady. "We are from a system called Valara. It is far beyond human space." Daniel swallowed. "Why are you here?" Lyra's silver eyes dimmed slightly. "Because our home is gone." The words were simple but heavy. Syrah continued. "Our world was attacked. Our royal bloodline was hunted. We escaped before the destruction." Daniel blinked. "Royal?" Lyra nodded once. "We were not just citizens. We were leaders." Daniel felt his thoughts spinning. He had moved in with alien royalty, royal aliens who were being hunted. As if the universe wanted to prove it. The lights flickered. All 3 of them looked up. The soft humming inside the walls grew louder. Syrah moved quickly toward a panel near the hallway. She pressed her hand against the wall. Blue symbols appeared under her fingers. "It is not the building power," she said quietly. "It is external." Daniel walked closer to the window. He looked down at the city below. Everything seemed normal. Ships moved calmly. Traffic lights blinked. Then he saw it. High above Nova District, something dark was hovering in orbit. It was not a human ship. It was too sharp, too silent, too still. Lyra joined him at the window. "They found us faster than expected," she whispered. Daniel felt a chill. "That ship is here for you?" "Yes." Before he could respond, his phone vibrated loudly in his pocket. The sudden sound made all 3 of them tense. Daniel pulled it out. "Emergency alert. Unknown vessel. Entering restricted zone. Citizens advised to remain indoors." He looked at them. "They know." Syrah shook her head. "Not yet, but they are searching." The humming in the apartment grew stronger. Daniel suddenly understood. The strange symbols on the walls, the cool air, the quiet machines. The apartment was not normal housing. It was a hiding place. "You built this place to hide," Daniel said slowly. Lyra nodded. The walls block energy scans. The symbols hide our life signs. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Then why is the humming getting louder? Sierra's expression darkened. Because they are using deep scanners now. A loud sound echoed outside. Not an explosion. Not yet, but something heavy landing. Daniel stepped back from the window. Small black ships were descending toward the city. They were not attacking. They were searching. Lyra turned to Daniel. You must leave. What? This is not your war, she said firmly. They will not harm humans unless humans interfere. Daniel felt anger rise inside him. So I just walk out? Pretend I saw nothing? Sierra looked at him carefully. You do not understand their power. Then explain it, Daniel said. For a moment, neither sister spoke. Then Lyra raised her hand slowly. The air around her fingers shimmered. A small ball of bright white energy formed in her palm. It was silent, but powerful. The light reflected across the room. This, she said softly, is a small fraction of our ability. She closed her hand. The energy disappeared instantly. If they capture us, Sierra added, they will use our power to destroy other systems, entire worlds. Daniel felt something change inside him. This was bigger than rent, bigger than fear. Outside, sirens began to echo through Nova District. The dark ships were moving lower. Daniel looked at the apartment door. Heavy footsteps echoed faintly in the hallway outside. Not human footsteps. Slower, heavier. They are here already, he whispered. Sierra closed her eyes for a moment. Yes. Lyra moved quickly toward a hidden panel in the living room floor. It opened silently, revealing advanced alien technology underneath. Daniel stared. So this whole time, he said, I was living inside a secret base. Lyra almost smiled. Yes. The footsteps outside stopped near their door. Silence. Then a low mechanical voice echoed from the hallway speaker system. Unit 47B. Open for inspection. Daniel's breathing slowed. Lyra looked at him one last time. You must decide now. Daniel thought about his life before tonight. Lost job, no money, no future plan. Now he had a choice. Walk away and survive, or stay and stand with them. The door handle began to move slowly. Daniel stepped forward. He locked the door manually and grabbed a heavy metal chair from the kitchen. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. Daniel, they may not hurt humans unless humans interfere, he said calmly. So I guess I am interfering. The first loud hit struck the door. Boom. The entire frame shook. Another hit. Boom. Cracks began to form in the metal surface. Daniel positioned the chair under the handle. Sierra stepped beside him. You are not trained for this. Daniel gave a small nervous smile. Neither were you when your world was attacked. For a second, Sierra looked surprised. Then something changed in her eyes. Respect. The door exploded inward. 3 tall, armored figures stood in the hallway. Their armor was black with red glowing lines. Their helmets had no visible faces. One of them stepped inside. Daniel swung the chair as hard as he could. The metal crashed against the soldier's helmet. The impact echoed through the room. The soldier stumbled backward, not because the chair was powerful, but because he did not expect a human to fight. Lyra raised her hand. Energy exploded across the room like white lightning. The apartment lights shattered. Smoke filled the air. Daniel could barely see. Sierra grabbed his arm and pulled him behind the wall. More armored figures were moving in the hallway. This was no longer a warning visit. It was a capture mission. And Daniel Carter, who only wanted cheap rent, had just made himself an enemy of an alien empire. Outside the building, the dark ship in orbit activated its main cannon. The real invasion was about to begin. Smoke filled the apartment. The lights were broken. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The air smelled like metal and burned wires. Daniel could barely breathe. The alien soldiers were moving through the smoke. Their red armor lights glowed like eyes in the dark. Lyra stood in the center of the room. Her silver eyes were bright now. No more hiding, no more pretending. Sierra's blue hair moved slowly around her shoulders as gravity bent slightly near her body. The first soldier rushed forward. Lyra raised her hand and released a wave of light energy. It hit the soldier and threw him across the hallway wall. The wall cracked from the impact, but more soldiers stepped in. Daniel realized something important. Lyra and Sierra were powerful, but they were tired. They had been hiding for months, running, limiting their strength, and now a full capture squad was here. Too many, Sierra whispered. Daniel looked around quickly. He was not a soldier, not trained, not strong like them, but he was human, and humans survived because they adapted. His eyes moved to the kitchen. Gas lines, water pipes, electric wiring. An idea formed in his mind. "Hold them for 30 seconds, he shouted. Lyra glanced at him. "What are you doing? Trust me." Daniel ran toward the kitchen. A blast hit the wall near him, shaking the floor. Pieces of metal fell around him. He opened the lower cabinet and found the main gas control. His hand shook, but he forced himself to focus. He turned it slightly. Not too much. Just enough. Gas began to leak silently into the air. He grabbed a loose electric wire hanging from the broken ceiling light and pulled it down. Behind him, Sierra lifted 2 soldiers into the air using gravity force and smashed them into each other. Lyra created a shield of light around the hallway entrance, but more heavy footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Reinforcements. Daniel's heart pounded. He quickly moved to the sink and turned on the water. The floor began to get wet. He pulled the broken wire close to the water trail, but did not drop it yet. "Lyra," he shouted, "drop your shield and move back." She did not understand, but she trusted him now. She stepped back. The soldiers rushed forward at once. Daniel threw the live wire into the water. Electricity exploded across the floor. The gas ignited at the same time. A bright flash filled the apartment. The shockwave pushed everyone backward. The soldiers collapsed instantly. Their armor systems overloaded. The explosion did not destroy the building, but it destroyed the capture squad. Smoke and silence followed. Daniel coughed and slowly stood up. His ears were ringing. Lyra stared at him. "You used primitive elements," she said softly. Daniel gave a weak smile. "Gas, water, electricity, basic human science." Sierra looked at the fallen soldiers. "They did not predict this." "Yeah," Daniel replied. "That's the point." But the victory lasted only seconds. The entire building suddenly shook violently. A deep sound echoed from the sky, not from the hallway. From above, Lyra rushed to the window. The massive dark warship had lowered closer to Nova District. Its surface opened slowly. A large circular weapon began to glow red. "They are preparing orbital strike," Sierra said quietly. Daniel felt cold. "They will destroy the building." "No," Lyra answered. "They will destroy the entire block." Daniel looked down at the city streets far below. Humans, families, workers, children. None of them knew that an alien empire was about to erase them just to capture 2 targets. "Can you stop that weapon?" he asked. Sierra's face was tense. "Not from here." Lyra closed her eyes. "If we release full power, we expose ourselves completely. Every scanner in orbit will lock onto us." Daniel stared at the red glow building above. "You're already exposed," he said. The warship's weapon grew brighter. Emergency sirens screamed across Nova District. Ships began to flee the area. Daniel made a decision. "We take the fight to them." Both sisters looked at him. "The roof," he continued. "If you can reach open sky, you can hit them directly." Lyra studied him carefully. "You understand that once we do this, there is no hiding again." Daniel nodded. "You've been running long enough." For a second, silence filled the broken apartment. Then Sierra stepped toward him. "Why are you helping us?" she asked quietly. Daniel looked at the smoke around them, the broken walls, the fallen soldiers. "Because they came into my home," he said, "and humans don't give up their home." Something powerful moved in Lyra's silver eyes, not energy, respect. The building shook again as the warship's cannon reached full charge. "We go now," Lyra said. Sierra opened a small gravity field around them. The air felt lighter. The 3 of them ran toward the stairwell. Alarms echoed everywhere. Residents were screaming. Security drones were flying upward but were destroyed instantly by the warship's defense turrets. They reached the roof. The sky above was dark and heavy. The warship blocked half the stars. Its main cannon was seconds away from firing. Lyra stepped forward. Her entire body began to glow bright white. Sierra lifted her hands and bent gravity upward, creating a path into open air. Daniel shielded his eyes from the light. Lyra rose slowly above the roof, floating higher and higher. The warship detected the power spike immediately. Defense drones launched toward her. Daniel grabbed a fallen security rifle from the roof. He could not reach the warship, but he could protect her from drones. He fired at the first drone. It exploded mid-air. More drones rushed forward. Daniel kept firing, heart pounding, hands steady. He was only human, but he refused to stand still. Above him, Lyra screamed as she released a massive beam of white energy. It shot to the sky and struck the warship's cannon directly. The red glow flickered. Sierra increased gravity pressure around the warship's lower engines. Metal began to bend. The warship fired prematurely. The blast shot sideways into empty space instead of the city. The sky turned white for a second. Then silence. Smoke poured from the alien ship. Its engines failed. Slowly, the massive vessel began to retreat upward. It did not explode. It escaped, but it had failed. The city below was saved. Lyra slowly descended back onto the roof. Her energy faded. She almost collapsed, but Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. For a moment, none of them spoke. The warship disappeared into deep space. Emergency lights continued flashing across Nova District. Daniel looked at the sky. He had lost his job 2 weeks ago. Tonight, he had fought an alien empire. And this was only the beginning. Because far away, inside that damaged warship, a commander watched the human through a holographic screen. And for the first time, the Empire understood something dangerous. Humans were not weak. And this human had just declared war. The roof of the building was quiet now. Smoke drifted slowly into the night sky. The warship had retreated, but the fear it left behind remained heavy in the air. Emergency drones circled above Nova District. People below were shouting, confused, scared. No one fully understood what had just happened. Daniel helped Lyra sit down. Her glow was gone. Her silver eyes looked tired. Sierra stood near the edge of the roof, watching the sky carefully. "They will not accept defeat," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her. "They lost their main cannon." Sierra shook her head. That was not their strongest weapon. Daniel felt a small chill run through him. Lyra slowly spoke. "The commander will report this failure, and then they will send someone worse." Daniel exhaled slowly. "Worse than a warship?" "Yes," Lyra replied. "A hunter." The word sounded heavier than it should have. Daniel sat beside her. "What is a hunter?" Sierra turned toward him. "In our empire, hunters are not soldiers. They are specialists. They track energy signatures. They adapt. They do not stop." Daniel remembered the floating drones, the armored soldiers, the deep scanner. "They will come personally," he said. "Yes," Lyra answered softly. He said. "Yes," Lyra answered softly. Sirens continued below. Police ships and human security forces were now flying toward the building. Daniel looked at both sisters. "You cannot stay here anymore." Sierra nodded once. "The apartment is exposed." Lyra tried to stand, but her legs shook. Daniel supported her. "We need somewhere underground," Daniel said. "Somewhere off-grid." Sierra looked at him carefully. "You know such a place?" Daniel thought for a moment. Yes, 2 months ago, when he still worked at the cargo docks, he had helped unload equipment into an old maintenance sector below the station. It was abandoned now. Old tunnels. No active scanners. No official records. "It is not comfortable," he said, "but it is hidden." Lyra met his eyes. "You risk everything for us." Daniel gave a tired smile. "You already destroyed my apartment." For the first time, Sierra almost smiled. They moved quickly. Before security forces reached the roof, Sierra created a small gravity shield around them. It bent light slightly, making them harder to notice from above. They used emergency stairs and exited through a back service corridor. Nova District felt different now. Screens in public areas were showing warnings about unknown alien conflict. People were told to remain calm. The government promised investigation. But Daniel knew the truth. This was not over. They entered a transport lift and descended toward the lower industrial levels. The lights became dimmer. The air became colder. Machines hummed in the walls. After several minutes, they stepped into an abandoned sector. Metal walkways, large storage containers, broken service bots in corners, no cameras, no traffic, perfect. Daniel led them into a small maintenance room with thick walls. "This is it," he said. Lyra leaned against the wall, still weak. Sierra closed the metal door. For a moment, silence surrounded them. Daniel sat down on an old crate. "So," he said quietly, "what happens now?" Lyra looked at him seriously. "Now, they send the hunter." Almost as if the universe wanted to answer her, Sierra suddenly stiffened. Her eyes closed. Daniel noticed the change immediately. "What is it?" Sierra's voice lowered. "He is here." Daniel's heart skipped. "Already?" "Yes." Lyra slowly stood despite her weakness. "I feel him too." The air inside the room felt colder. Not physically, energetically. Daniel did not understand how he knew, but he felt it. Something powerful had entered Nova District. Not loud like a warship. Not aggressive like soldiers. Silent, focused, hunting. Above the city, a small black pod separated from a larger transport ship. It entered the atmosphere without fire. It made no sound. It landed softly on a rooftop several kilometers away. The pod opened. A single tall figure stepped out. His armor was not red like the soldiers. It was dark silver, smooth, almost organic. His helmet had no lights, only a thin horizontal line across where his eyes should be. Inside the helmet, cold yellow eyes scanned the city. He activated a device on his wrist. A faint pulse spread outward like an invisible wave. Below, in the maintenance room, Lyra gasped slightly. "He is scanning for royal energy," she whispered. Daniel looked at her. "Can he find you?" Sierra answered quietly. "Eventually." Daniel's mind began to work fast again. "If he tracks energy, then we hide energy." Lyra shook her head. "We already limit our power." "No," Daniel said. "Not limit. Mask." Sierra looked at him carefully. "Explain." Daniel stood up and began pacing. "When ships hide from radar, they do not just reduce signal. They create noise. They confuse the scanner." Lyra listened. "So instead of hiding your energy," Daniel continued, "we create false energy signals all over the sector." Sierra's eyes narrowed slightly. "Decoys." "Yes." Daniel moved toward an old broken power generator in the corner. "This station has old reactors. If we overload small sections, they will release random energy bursts." Lyra understood quickly. "The hunter will detect multiple royal signatures, and he will not know which one is real." Daniel finished. For the first time since the roof battle, Sierra looked impressed. "Humans fight differently," she said. Daniel shrugged lightly. "We survive differently." They moved fast. Using old wiring and broken batteries, Daniel and Sura connected several small energy cores across the abandoned tunnels. Lyra carefully released tiny controlled pulses of her royal power into each core. Across the lower levels of Nova District, false energy signatures began appearing. Above the city, the hunter stopped walking. His wrist device flashed rapidly. 10 signals, 15, 20, all similar, all royal. His yellow eyes narrowed behind the helmet. He adjusted the scanner. The signals moved, shifted, multiplied. For the first time, the hunter felt uncertainty. Below, Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. "Will it work?" he asked. Lyra closed her eyes and felt the city's energy patterns. "Yes," she whispered. "He is confused." Sierra allowed herself a small breath of relief, but Lyra did not smile. He is not like the soldiers, she said softly. Confusion will only make him more careful. Daniel nodded slowly. Then we prepare for careful. Far above them, the hunter deactivated his scanner. Instead of rushing, he began walking calmly across the rooftops. Patient, studying, adapting, and somewhere deep inside Nova District's dark tunnels, a human and two alien royal sisters prepared for a battle that would not be loud. It would be silent, personal, and far more dangerous than a warship. The abandoned sector was silent, too silent. Daniel stood near the old control panel watching the small energy readings blink across the cracked screen. The decoy signals were active. False royal energy signatures were moving through different tunnels. Lyra sat quietly, eyes closed, focusing on controlling the pulses. Sierra stood near the metal door, listening. Above them, the hunter walked slowly across Nova District rooftops. He did not rush. He did not panic. He analyzed. His armor scanned every reflection, every heat source, every power fluctuation. His yellow eyes glowed faintly behind the smooth visor. He tapped his wrist device again. The royal signals were scattered, too scattered. No royal bloodline would split energy so randomly. He tilted his head slightly. Someone was thinking, not a frightened refugee, not a tired royal, someone else, a different mind. He activated a deeper scan mode. Instead of tracking royal energy, he searched for something else. Irregular patterns, primitive interference, human manipulation. Down in the tunnels, Daniel felt uneasy. He did not know why, but the silence felt heavy. "He is still up there," Lyra whispered. "Yes," Sierra replied, "but he is no longer chasing the decoys." Daniel looked up from the screen. "What do you mean?" Sierra's expression was serious. "He is looking for the source of the trick." Daniel swallowed slowly. "So he knows." "Yes," Lyra answered. "He understands that someone intelligent is guiding us." Daniel took a slow breath. "Good." Both sisters looked at him. "If he sees me as the brain," Daniel continued, "then he will focus on me, not on you." Sierra stepped forward sharply. "That is dangerous." Daniel gave a small smile. "That is the idea." Before either of them could respond, the lights flickered. Not from their equipment, from the main station grid. A low vibration moved through the walls. Lyra opened her eyes quickly. "He is inside the lower levels." Daniel's heart jumped. That was fast. Sierra walked toward the corridor carefully. He does not waste time. The vibration came again, but this time it felt controlled, measured. The hunter had entered the abandoned sector, and he was not destroying everything. He was searching quietly. Daniel turned off the control panel screen. "No more electronic light," he whispered. They stood in darkness now, lit only by faint emergency strips on the floor. Footsteps echoed faintly in the distance. Not loud, not rushed. Slow. Metal against metal. The hunter was walking calmly through the tunnels. Daniel's mind raced. "He will test reactions," he whispered. Lyra nodded slightly. "He wants us to make a mistake." A sudden loud crash echoed 3 corridors away. Metal collapsed. Dust filled the air. Sierra did not move. "That was a probe," she said. "He destroyed something random to see if we react," Daniel answered. They stayed silent. Minutes passed. Then another crash, closer this time. The hunter was narrowing his path. He was eliminating areas that showed no reaction. Daniel leaned closer to Lyra and Sierra. "He expects fear." Lyra's silver eyes glowed softly. "Then we give him calm." Another set of footsteps, closer now, very close. Daniel could hear faint mechanical breathing. The hunter stopped outside the maintenance room door. Silence. No attack. No blast. Just stillness. Daniel's chest felt tight. The metal door slowly began to heat up from the outside. Not melting, just warming. Testing structure. Testing patience. Sierra whispered, "He knows we are near." Daniel looked around quickly. There was only one exit, the corridor behind them. "If we run," Daniel said quietly, "he will chase." "Yes," Lyra replied. "And if we fight now," Daniel continued, "he will measure your full power." Sarah understood immediately. He wants data. Yes. The door suddenly dented inward slightly. The hunter had pressed his hand against it, not breaking it, feeling it. Daniel closed his eyes for 1 second. Then he made a decision. He grabbed a loose metal pipe from the floor. Sarah looked at him sharply. "What are you doing?" Daniel walked toward the door slowly. Lyra reached out. "Daniel." He stopped just before the door. Then, with full force, he smashed the pipe loudly against the opposite wall behind him. The sound echoed through the tunnels. Throw the pipe down another corridor. It clattered loudly as it rolled away. Instantly, the heat on the door stopped. The hunter turned. His footsteps moved away. He followed the noise. Daniel exhaled slowly. "He tracks movement first," Daniel whispered. Sarah looked at him with quiet amazement. "You understand predator thinking." Daniel nodded slightly. "Humans were prey once." Lyra's eyes softened. The footsteps faded into the distance, but no one relaxed, because they knew the hunter would return, and next time he would not test metal doors. Minutes later, the vibration returned, but this time, from above. Daniel looked up. He climbed. Sarah's face tightened. He is above the tunnel. A loud metallic tear split the ceiling. The hunter dropped down from above, landing silently in front of them. Tall, dark silver armor, smooth surface reflecting faint light. The thin horizontal visor glowed softly yellow. No wasted movement, no anger, just calculation. Daniel stepped slightly in front of Lyra without thinking. The hunter's head tilted. He spoke for the first time. His voice was low and mechanical. "You are not royal." Daniel's throat felt dry. "No," he replied. The hunter stepped closer. "Yet you interfere." Daniel forced his voice to stay steady. "They live here." The hunter's visor flickered slightly. Human logic, territorial instinct. Lyra slowly stepped beside Daniel. Silver light formed faintly around her hands. The hunter did not react. Instead, he lifted one hand calmly. A thin blade of energy extended from his wrist. Not glowing bright, not dramatic, precise. "I require the royal bloodline," he said calmly. "You are irrelevant." Daniel's fear turned into anger. "Not tonight," he answered. The hunter studied him for a long second. Then something unexpected happened. He deactivated the blade. "You display strategic intelligence," the hunter said. Daniel blinked. "You could serve." Lyra's energy flared instantly. Sarah's gravity field tightened. Daniel did not hesitate. "No." The hunter tilted his head again. "Humans value survival." Daniel looked directly at the glowing visor. "Humans also choose sides." Silence filled the tunnel. For the first time, the hunter adjusted his stance, not attacking, recalculating. He understood now. The sisters were powerful, but the human was the variable, and variables were dangerous. Without another word, the hunter activated a smoke pulse and disappeared into the tunnel shadows. Gone. Not defeated, not retreating fully, but changing tactics. Lyra's light faded slowly. Sarah's light faded slowly. Sarah exhaled carefully. Daniel's hands finally started shaking. "He offered you alliance," Lyra said softly. Daniel nodded. "He thinks humans can be turned." Sarah looked at him seriously. "And can they?" Daniel looked down the dark tunnel where the hunter had vanished. "Yes," he said quietly, "but not this one." Above Nova District, hidden in darkness, the hunter observed from a distance. He had confirmed something critical. The royal sisters were dangerous, but the human was unpredictable, and unpredictable enemies were the most dangerous of all. The hunt was no longer simple capture. Now, it was personal. The tunnels were quiet again. But this time the silence felt different. Not fear. Preparation. Daniel leaned against the cold metal wall. His hands were still shaking slightly, but his eyes were steady now. Lyra watched him carefully. "He will not offer twice," she said softly. Sierra nodded. "Next time, he will not speak." Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "Good. Talking is overrated." But inside, he understood something important. The hunter had changed the rules. This was no longer about hiding. It was about ending the threat. Above Nova District, the hunter stood on a tall tower, observing the city. His armor adjusted to the wind. His yellow visor glowed faintly as he reviewed data. Human interference level, high. Royal power output, controlled. Strategic intelligence, unexpected. He made a decision. He activated a direct communication channel. In the sky, a small signal pulse spread across the city. Every public screen suddenly turned black. Then a symbol appeared. Dark silver. Sharp. Foreign. Daniel looked up at a broken monitor in the tunnel as it flickered to life. The hunter's voice echoed across Nova District. "Royal bloodline, present yourselves. If you do not comply, this sector will be purged." Lyra's face turned pale. Sierra's fists tightened. Daniel felt anger rise in his chest. "He is threatening civilians." "Yes," Lyra whispered. "He escalates." On the screen, the hunter continued. 1 hour. Then the transmission ended. Above the city, small orbiting drones began repositioning. Not a full warship, but enough firepower to erase several blocks. Daniel stood still. He thought about the people in the apartments above. Workers. Children. Families who had no idea what royal bloodlines meant. "This ends now," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him sharply. "We can leave the city and let him destroy it anyway?" Daniel replied. Silence. Sierra stepped closer. "If we fight him openly, the battle will be destructive." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then we don't fight openly." Both sisters watched him carefully. Daniel's mind was already moving fast. "He expects power," Daniel said. "He expects power," Daniel said. "He expects energy beams, gravity force, royal strength." "Yes," Lyra replied. "So we give him something else." Sierra tilted her head slightly. "Explain." Daniel pointed upward. "He is confident because he controls the sky. His drones. His orbit position." Lyra understood first. "You want to remove his advantage." Daniel nodded. "We lure him underground, away from the drones." Sierra's eyes narrowed slightly. "He will not fall for simple traps." Daniel gave a small smile. "Good thing I am not simple." Time moved quickly. Across the abandoned sector, Daniel activated the remaining energy cores. But this time, he did not spread them randomly. He concentrated them in one deep tunnel chamber below Nova District. Lyra and Sierra carefully amplified one strong royal energy signature there. A clear signal, a challenge. Above, the hunter detected it instantly. Royal energy spike, concentrated, stationary. His visor glowed brighter. "They surrender," he said quietly to himself. He left the tower without hesitation. In the underground chamber, Daniel stood in the shadows. Lyra and Sierra stood at the center of the large metal room. The energy around them glowed brighter than ever before. The ground vibrated slightly. Daniel had also prepared something else. Old industrial magnetic coils. Power lines rerouted. Emergency reactor connected. Primitive, but powerful. Footsteps echoed. The hunter entered the chamber. He walked calmly toward the glowing sisters. "You comply," he said. Lyra's silver eyes shined fiercely. "We end this." The hunter extended his energy blade. Sierra bent gravity slightly around him, testing his balance, but he was prepared. He adjusted instantly, fast, precise. He lunged forward. Lyra released a blast of white energy. The hunter blocked it with a shield device on his arm. The chamber shook. Metal walls bent. Sierra increased gravity pressure, trying to crush him downward. The hunter anchored himself with magnetic boots. He was designed to fight royal power. Daniel waited, not moving, watching. The hunter pushed forward slowly, resisting gravity and energy. He was strong, stronger than the soldiers, stronger than his soldiers, stronger than expected. Lyra was forced back. Sierra's breathing became heavy. The hunter advanced step by step. Then Daniel moved. He ran to the control switch hidden behind a broken panel. He slammed his hand down. The magnetic coils around the chamber activated instantly. A deep, loud hum filled the room. The hunter stopped. His armor reacted. Warning signals flashed across his visor. Magnetic overload. His systems were advanced, but they relied on precise energy balance. Daniel had reversed the field polarity. The hunter's armor began pulling violently toward the walls. His movement slowed. Sierra immediately increased gravity pressure from above. Lyra focused her energy directly on his chest plate. The hunter struggled. He adapted quickly, but not quickly enough. Daniel increased the reactor output. Sparks exploded from the ceiling. The magnetic field intensified. The hunter's blade flickered. His visor glitched. For the first time, his voice showed strain. Human interference. Daniel stepped forward. "Yeah," he said calmly. "That's what we do." Lyra released one final focused beam of pure white energy. It struck the hunter's chest core directly. The magnetic field held him in place. Gravity crushed downward. Energy pierced through. The hunter let out a distorted mechanical sound. Then silence. His armor cracked. His systems failed. The dark silver figure collapsed to the floor. Still, destroyed. The magnetic coils shut down slowly. Smoke filled the chamber. Lyra fell to one knee. Sierra caught her. Daniel walked slowly toward the fallen hunter. He looked down at the motionless armor. "It's over," he said quietly. Above Nova District, the orbiting drones lost connection. One by one, they powered down. The city was safe, for real this time. Days later, news spread quietly across interstellar networks. An elite hunter unit had failed, destroyed, not by a royal fleet, not by an army, but by two exiled sisters, and one human. In the rebuilt apartment overlooking the stars, Daniel stood near the window again. Lyra stood beside him. Sierra looked at the city lights below. "You changed the outcome," Lyra said softly. Daniel shook his head. "We did." Sierra looked at him seriously. "The Empire will think carefully before targeting humans again." Daniel smiled slightly. "Good." Outside, ships moved peacefully once more. He only wanted a cheap room. Instead, he became something more. Proof. Proof that humans do not need royal blood. Proof that humans do not need glowing eyes. Because when humans choose to stand beside someone, they do not step back. And somewhere deep in space, the Empire marked Earth with a new status. Not weak, not neutral. Dangerous. Nova District looked peaceful again. The broken towers were repaired. The streets were clean. The news channels called it a localized alien incident. But across the galaxy, it was not small. It was historic. Deep in Imperial space, inside a massive black command station, high-ranking officers stood in silence. In the center of the room floated a hologram. The final recording of the hunter. It showed the underground chamber. The royal sisters. And the human. The moment the magnetic field activated. The moment the hunter failed. The hologram froze on Daniel's face. An officer spoke quietly. "A human engineered the trap." Another replied, "Humans are not classified as a combat species." The commander of the Empire leaned forward. "Update the classification." Far away on Earth's orbit, Daniel did not know that his name was now stored in Imperial War archives. He was back in the repair department. But things were different. The government had questions. Security officers had interviewed him for hours. "How did you survive? What technology did you use? Are the alien women still present?" Daniel gave simple answers. "Old maintenance equipment. Basic electrical overload. I don't know where they went." He protected Lyra and Sierra by saying less, and surprisingly, the government did not push too hard, because they had seen the drone wreckage. They had seen the hunter's armor remains, and they understood something clearly. Whatever happened underground saved Nova District. So for now, they let it rest. Inside the apartment, Lyra stood near the window again. But she no longer hid her glow. Her silver eyes reflected the stars openly. Sierra walked in quietly. "He knows," she said. Lyra nodded slightly. "Yes." Daniel entered the room holding 3 cups of simple human tea. He handed one to each of them. "Knows what?" he asked. Sierra looked at him seriously. "The Empire will not rush again." Daniel frowned. "That sounds good." Lyra shook her head softly. "It is not good. When hunters fail," she continued, "they do not send more hunters." "What do they send?" Daniel asked. Sierra answered quietly. "Diplomats." Daniel blinked. "Diplomats are worse." Lyra looked at him with calm intensity. "They do not use weapons first. They use offers." Daniel leaned against the table. "Offers like the hunter gave me?" "Yes," Sierra said. Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at the stars. "So now they try to turn Earth instead of attack it." Lyra nodded. "They will present partnership, technology, power, and they will ask for something small in return." Daniel gave a small smile. "And what would that be?" Sierra answered. "Us." 2 days later it happened. A massive silver diplomatic vessel entered Earth orbit. Unlike the warship, it did not hide. It broadcast peaceful signals. It requested formal communication with Earth's planetary council. News channels exploded with excitement. First official contact with Valara Empire. New alliance possible. Advanced technology exchange. Inside Earth's council chamber, world leaders sat around a large circular table. A holographic figure appeared above it. Tall, elegant, calm, an imperial diplomat. "We seek peaceful cooperation," the hologram said. "In exchange for limited technology access, we request extradition of 2 escaped royal criminals currently hiding in your territory." The room went silent. Some leaders looked confused. Others looked concerned. "They are dangerous," the diplomat continued smoothly. "They destroyed imperial property. They caused instability. And they are protected by a human citizen." At that moment, Daniel's face appeared on the holographic screen. His name, his location, his history. Inside the apartment, Daniel's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then again. Government summons. Immediate. Lyra looked at him. "It begins," she said softly. Daniel took a deep breath. "Good." He stood up calmly. "I'm going." Sierra stepped in front of him. "They will pressure you." Daniel nodded. "They can try." Hours later, Daniel sat inside a large government chamber. Leaders stared at him. Some were angry. Some were impressed. "You understand the position we are in?" one official asked. Daniel nodded. "They want the sisters." The official continued. "In exchange, they offer advanced medical technology, defense systems, faster interstellar travel." Another leader added quietly. "Billions of lives could benefit." The room grew heavy. Daniel understood the weight of that. 1 human, 2 aliens, or billions of humans improved. A hard choice. One leader leaned forward. "Why should Earth risk war for 2 fugitives?" Daniel stayed silent for a moment, then he spoke calmly. "Because they are not criminals. They were attacked. They defended themselves. And they protected the city." Another official replied sharply, "That is not the point. This is about Earth's future." Daniel nodded. "Yes, exactly." He looked around the room. "If Earth gives them up today, then tomorrow another empire will ask for something else. Then something more. Then something meeker. Then something bigger." Silence filled the chamber. Daniel continued. "If we trade people for progress, then what are we becoming?" No one spoke. He leaned forward slightly. "You want to know why the hunter failed?" The leaders listened carefully. "Because he believed humans would choose survival over loyalty. And he was wrong." Hours later, Earth's response was sent to the Imperial vessel. Short, clear. Earth does not extradite refugees under threat. The diplomatic ship remained silent for several minutes. Then it transmitted one final message. Decision noted. The silver vessel slowly turned away from orbit. Not attacking. Not threatening. Leaving. Inside the apartment, Lyra exhaled slowly. Sierra looked at Daniel. You just refused an empire. Daniel shrugged lightly. They started it. Days later, news spread across multiple star systems. Earth had refused imperial pressure. Earth had chosen loyalty over technology. Across alien networks, opinions shifted. Humans were not strong like warrior species. They were not advanced like ancient civilizations, but they were consistent, and consistency was dangerous. In deep imperial space, the commander reviewed Earth's response. He did not look angry. He looked thoughtful. Humans are not to be rushed, he said quietly. Observation status. Back on Nova District, Daniel stood once again near the window. Lyra stood on his right, Sierra on his left. The stars looked the same, but the galaxy had changed. He had only wanted a cheap room. Now he had helped Earth define its future. Lyra spoke softly. You understand something most empires forget. Daniel smiled slightly. What's that? Sierra answered. Power is not only weapons. Daniel looked at the city lights below. Yeah, he said quietly. Sometimes power is just saying no. And far beyond Earth, in systems that had never noticed humanity before, a new word was quietly added to galactic strategy files. Humans. Unpredictable. Loyal. Not to be underestimated.